Hey guys, what's up? Doing this recording real quick for two things. One, a little bit of a rambly sort of topic subject. And two, I'm going to be rattling off the names of the parts that I got for the computer that I'm finally going to get to build. Hopefully everything should be here by the end of the week. And then I'll finally have my new computer up and running, as well as my old computer up and running, because I'm going to resurrect that, as well as the family computer, and the one I'm building for myself is my, little demon machine that I'm putting together. So let's just get on with it. I originally was going to do this on my thoughts on science and what I believe to be somewhat of the overglorification of it, but I'm going to save that for another time when I can get my thoughts together on that. Instead, it's going to be more on one of the things I feel sorry for when it comes to religious people and them trying to enforce their dogmatic beliefs. I know for many of us non-religious types, or those of us who are religious but at the same time, reasonable, I know it can be very frustrating for us sometimes to have to deal with dogmatic-minded people and their insistence that their worldview is the correct one. These guys will go to great lengths, like just insane lengths, to, enforce their particular point of view upon everyone else. And even when it's shown that whatever beliefs they have, whatever point of view they have is completely invalid, that just emboldens them even more. And there's already been a lot discussed on that, how it might be some type of mental blockage. It's definitely a form of cognitive dissonance, how it definitely does not lend to any type of intellectual discussion whatsoever, because no matter what you present to disprove what they're saying, they're going to hold on to it. How it's holding them back, and how it's detrimental to society and all that. But at the same time, I have to feel somewhat sorry for them in this regard, because it's not necessarily, or it's not just a mental hang-up that they have, or an inability to be able to comprehend facts, because in many other aspects of their lives, they can do this. One analogy I like to do when I tend to kind of ridicule, like for instance, the way a Christian will always say that the Bible is the only thing that they look to as the ultimate source of life, and anything they need, like any verification they need in life, comes from the Bible. Well, why? Because it's the infallible word of God. Why? Because He wrote it. It's like this weird circular logic where everything is truthful is in the Bible, and the reason why is because the Bible says so. Why? Because it was written by God. Why? Because the Bible says so. It's like this weird, ridiculous circular logic. But yet, in other aspects of their lives, they usually aren't that stupid. At least I would not think so. And the analogy I like to do is, like, when it comes to the Bible, they'll use that circular logic. But when it comes to, let's say, buying a car, they aren't going to accept what the dealer is telling them simply because it says so in their brochure. Like if a car dealer tells them, look, this brochure says that this is the greatest car in the world. Why? Because we wrote it. You're like, no, it doesn't work that way. We're going to be going to third parties and third-party sources to find out whether your car is true or not. I'm going to go to Consumer Reports. I'm going to hear what my friends have to say in the subject. I'm going to see if your car is actually worth the money I'm going to fork over. But when it comes to their souls, nah, then they're just going to believe this one particular book that has already been, shown to be full of contradictions and translated over and over again and has different interpretations and all this other crap. But you see, the reason why, at least from one of the reasons why I'm seeing that they do this, is because it's their duty to. And that's the sad thing. It's actually behooving upon them to accept the ridiculousness, because if they don't, then they're not being good people. I mean, never mind not being a good Christian or a good Muslim, whatever. They're just not, to them, that's, if they don't accept it, and if they don't try to reconcile whatever nonsense they've been taught, then they're not good people. So it's their job to try to reconcile this stuff. I forgot where I was seeing this. It was like a couple of nights ago. I'm watching on YouTube where they was this guy was showing this clip where this guy was saying that if the Bible tells him that 2 + 2 = 5, well, he has no choice but to believe it, and he's going to try, he has to then pattern his life around that. no matter what anyone else says. That's what the Bible says. Therefore, he has to roll with that. Now, some people might interpret that as, man, he's so freaking stupid that he's gonna, you know. It's not that he's too stupid not to realize that 2 + 2 = 4. It's just that, well, the Bible says otherwise. Therefore, he must believe it. And therefore, he has to wrap his whole worldview around that. That's their duty. And people take this duty very seriously. That's the scary part of religion. That it will blatantly have things which does not correspond with real life. But they have to accept it. If they don't accept it, then they're not good people. And not only are they going to have to deal with their own conscience bothering them about that, they're going to have to deal with their peers bothering them about that. And human beings generally do not do well when it comes to peer pressure and living in social situations where the majority of them are against you. It's hard to be that type of person who can just stand up and say, oh, fuck the rest of fuck all y'all. That's something that very few of us can do. We tend to roll with the crowd. I mean, I'm an eccentric, so I can generally tell other people to fuck off, but most people can't do that. So, you know, when you have this lifestyle, this culture that basically is telling you that this is your duty to uphold this stuff, then yeah, you're going to be seeing all the weird mental gymnastics that they do in order to try to prove their claims. Like when you see creation is basically not showing, like they say, oh, we're being scientific about this. But they go against the scientific method by first coming to a conclusion and then trying to prove that conclusion instead of just simply observing the facts around them and then building their conclusions around that. I mean, you can tell them over and over again that this is not the way science works. You can beat it over the head that this is bullshit. But their duty tells them that they're supposed to work with the answer first and, you know, just build their whole structure around that. It's their duty to do that shit. Never mind the fact that it makes no sense. So you can argue with the creationists all you want about how, nah, this is not, you don't start from a premise just because it's in your Bible and then try to build from there. I mean, we don't even do court. I mean, yeah, like when you go to court, yeah, many times lawyers will try to start off this premise of my client is innocent or my client is guilty. This is why, and they try to build a whole story around that. But a really good one will work with the facts as it is and then say these facts prove that this is the way it is, you know. In real life, we have to work with the evidence that's in front of us. And even if we don't necessarily know that much about science and therefore don't fully understand how to apply the scientific method, we do it in small ways around our lives anyway. Like when we're trying to figure certain things out, we tend to gather clues first and then say, this is what happened, you know. You come home, you know, you find your favorite chocolate bar missing. Who took my chocolate bar? You may have suspicions on who did it, but it's like, you need to gather evidence, you know. It's like, who took this shit? I left it right here on the table. Who took it? And then now you're going to be gathering evidence. Who was here while I was gone? Is anybody in there with chocolate on their fingers? Let me see if I can find a discarded wrapper somewhere. And, you know, like, stuff like that is how you're able to figure it out. It's kind of ridiculous if you come home, and granted, we're all guilty of this, but it's still ridiculous when you come home and you find your chocolate bar missing. I know you did it. You got no proof, but you're going to stick with that, and you're going to try to build your whole case around, they did it. Never mind the fact that evidence may prove otherwise. You may dislike this person, or you may just simply think that this person's up to no good, so you're going to just keep on harping that, nah, you stole it. Somebody else is walking by with your half-eaten chocolate bar. You did it. You know, there are some people that are irrational, you know. But that's ultimately what religious people are doing. They start off with a premise, ridiculous as it is, and then they have to build their whole life around that, and they have to argue for it, and they have to try to come up with evidence for it so they can keep on living it. It's their job. It's their duty. It is part of their, you know, it's part of their, consider it an unwritten commandment. You have to uphold this shit. Otherwise, you're not worthy of heaven. You're not worthy of your God. You have to be able to stick by this, no matter how nuts it is. And this is why they can also come up with things like, oh, we aren't built to understand. God works in mysterious ways. We just have to accept it. No, you don't. The course of human history doesn't work this way. If you look at the course of human history, it ultimately comes down with the person who isn't able to truly see reality as close to how we can see it. They're the ones who ultimately lose. you have to be able to see what's in front of you and work with it. If you're living a lifestyle that basically tells you that you're supposed to accept the preposterous with no proof whatsoever, and worse, have to build your entire life around it, you might want to reconsider it. Now, I am not saying that you can't accept something incredible, you know, because there are many times in life that we may, you know, believe something. We may not have that much evidence for it, but we just, you know what? I am pretty damn sure this is correct. There's been many times in history where later on you have enough evidence to prove it. But then there are other times when it just simply everything's pointing in a different direction. You're just going to have to let it go. The problem is, and this is why I say I feel sorry for the religious people at times, they're not allowed to let it go. They have to fight tooth and nail for it. And that's a really fucked up position to be in. I really wish that there was some way to relieve them of this burden, because it's not really doing them or society any good. But it is what it is, right? It's a burden they have to deal with, and unfortunately that means it's a burden that the rest of us have to deal with as well. Hopefully we can figure out some way to get it off their shoulders so they can, you know, finally put it aside. That's my thoughts on that anyway. So, and this is normally where I would say, okay, catch you guys later, but I did promise that I was going to rattle off the computer parts I got. Partially because I know there's some, you know, there's some fellow computer enthusiasts among you who might be interested in what parts I have and may want to start debating on whether I got the right parts or not, or, you know, like, holy shit, you got that? And also because I got a little bit of a question, at least on one of the parts that I've received, and I'm hoping that it will work for what I want it to do. I'm pretty much, first I'm resurrecting my old machine. For those of you who want to know, like I'm making that the quote-unquote family computer. My old machine was an AMD-based machine. I had an AMD processor in there, a Phenom chip. I, for the moment, don't remember the exact designation. I think it was a 9550. Yeah, it was a 9550 chip. I have replaced the processor, and me trying to resurrect it, I had replaced the processor thinking the processor was dead, and to a 97 something, and still didn't resurrect, so now I know it's the motherboard. So I'm replacing the motherboard. I don't remember what motherboard I got offhand. Did I get it off of... Let me see. Let me look at my list of parts, and I can tell you in a moment whether I got it off of Newegg or not. Yeah, I got it off of Newegg. This is a motherboard, an ASRock 960 GCGS-FX motherboard. It's an AM3 motherboard, but it also can support AM2+, which is what this processor on the older machine is. It's hard to find AM2 motherboards these days because, well, they don't make them anymore because AM2+ chips are outdated. They don't make those anymore. So it took me a while to hunt that one down. I was trying to find the exact one that I had on there. Then, yeah, that's dead. I'm just not going to find that one. At least not, you know, unless I look on eBay and try to find somebody who's going to sell it for an inflated price or something. But even eBay didn't have it, which pissed me off because a few weeks ago someone had it, and I just missed out when I finally had the money to get it. So, but that one's going to be resurrected with those parts. Same video card that I had in there before, which was a Radeon card. Worked well. Keeping that in, like I said, this is going to be just the family computer, the general use computer, and for when people want to come over and we're going to be doing LAN parties and shit. That's what that one's going to be for, like the extra computer for somebody to jump on. Now, this new machine that I'm building is also going to be an AMD-based machine. Now, some of you guys will be like, why are you wasting your time with AMD? Intel's a better freaking... they're making better processors. They're making faster processors. Yeah, I'll admit, that's true. That is fucking true. But I'm sort of an AMD guy at heart. I kind of always have been. Most of the machines I've built over the years have been AMD machines. Call it brand loyalty. I know it's stupid, but I like AMD. Granted, I've been a little unhappy with them lately because they just don't seem to understand that making multi-core processors isn't necessarily what the industry is leaning towards right now. Okay, yeah, the chip that I got was an 8-core processor, and I'll get into that in a minute. There's hardly any programs out there or any applications that are using 8 cores. Hell, there are a lot of them that aren't even using 4 cores. Why the hell are they making these 8-core machines that aren't able to compete with dual-core ones that, or quad-core ones that Intel's coming out with? I don't get it. If they're going to be coming out with these multi-core chips, can't they at least make it so that these cores are not weak individually? I really wish they would, but having argued all that, the chips that they are coming out with aren't bad. If you're building a mid-tier computer, or if you're building a computer that you're planning on doing a lot of multitasking with, then AMD is not a bad way to go. And considering that I'm going to be making this, I'm building this machine to not just play games, but also to process videos, record videos, work on office type stuff, work online on certain websites. I'm going to be doing a lot with this machine. It's going to be my workhorse as well as my gaming machine. In that case, AMD wasn't a bad way to go. Now, if I was just making it primarily for just one thing, like if I was just going to make this purely a gaming machine, then yeah, I might want to lean toward Intel. But that's not what I was making this for. So, there you go. And, you know, besides, again, this chip isn't bad. It's a decent, you know, upper mid-tier machine that I'm building. Some of you may disagree or agree. When I rattle off the parts, I will let you know. Anyway, what I ended up getting as far as the processor chip goes, like I said, I got an AMD chip. I picked up the AMD FX 8320 chip, the Vishera. Now, some of you might be asking, why didn't you get the 8350? Was it the 8350 or the 8390? It was the 8350. Yeah, why didn't you pick up the 8350? Because that's supposed to be a better chip. Bang for the buck, pretty much. I feel that for that extra bit, like the chip I got is 3.5 gigahertz before you overclock it. The other one's 4.0 before you overclock it. Not that much difference, and yet I'm going to be spending much less. I paid like about, what, $153 for this chip, I think. Somewhere around that. 153, I think it was around 153. I was going to say 159, but I don't think that's how much I paid for it. That's actually not a bad price, and when I do overclock it, it's going to be around 4.0 anyway. So it's not going to be, you know, it's not that big a deal in the long run. It's still, you know, it's still going to do what I'm going to do. The motherboard I'm putting on, that I'm going to be throwing that processor on, is this one. Hold on. It came in the mail today. Sabertooth 990FX. There has been a lot of good things said about this motherboard, and I had been planning to snatch it up myself. However, I'm not going to lie to you. I got this for free. One of my viewers actually sent me this. They knew about my computer troubles, and they said, yo, I just had this in the closet. I'm not doing anything with it. Here you go. I'm like, you really want to do that? They're like, sure, go ahead. Here you go. I'm not doing anything with it. And wow. So, dude, I mean, unless I don't want to like mention names like to put people on the spot, but thank you. I really do. I've already thanked you privately, but I'm just doing it on the video. Thank you very much for sending this to me. It came in. I'm happy that I got it. The only thing that I want to ask, and I don't know if you would know, and this is why I'm doing it. This is a video, and I'm asking the viewership as well. Anybody who would be knowledgeable about this. This is the original motherboard. This was the first 990FX to come out for Sabertooth 990FX. Since then, they've come out with 2 revisions. And all I want to know is how much of an improvement were those revisions, and is that something that I need to worry about when putting this in? I personally think there's not going to be anything wrong. Like, it's just, okay, yeah, there's been revisions. They might have tweaked a few things here and there, but I doubt it's anything major. But I just would like to know, like, I'm trying to check out comparisons right now to see what's been improved. I'm seeing a few things here and there, but I just want to know, like, ultimately down the line, is it really that big a deal that I got this model? Like, is there any major thing I'm missing out on? Though, even if I was, it's a free freaking Sabertooth 99FX. Like, I'm not going to freaking complain, but I just, you know, just for information's sake, I'd like to know. But, yeah, this is the motherboard I got. This is going to be fantastic to overclock with, because it was made for that. I'm going to make sure to download the BIOS and all that type of stuff, because I'm going to have to upgrade this thing, obviously. So when I finally do build this machine, I'm going to have to, that's the one thing though, it didn't come with the software, so I'm going to have to download the software and then install it, and that's going to be fun, but whatever. It's freaking, I am really stoked that this got sent to me, because that saved me some cash. That really did. I went a little overboard with building this machine. I wanted to spend like at the most $600, and I ended up spending around $1,000. Yeah. So not having to pay for this really helped. Thank you. So yeah, that's the processor and the motherboard. Other parts. I need to hurry up and get to the other parts. I picked up the video card. I'm pretty sure you guys are wondering what video card I picked up. Now here's where things get funny. I was originally going to go with a Radeon card. I'm an NVIDIA guy. Okay, I've always been an NVIDIA guy. All my machines, save for the very last one before this one I'm building, have all had NVIDIA cards in them. But then the latest NVIDIA card I bought was like, this happened like, what, 3 years ago? Maybe 2? I think it was more 3. It popped. Like, I was playing Bioshock, and then suddenly, like, I smelled something burning. I'm like, what the hell? And then I heard a pop, and then the screen just went dead. And I'm like, what the fuck? Opened up my machine, and a transistor burnt out on the freaking NVIDIA card. I was not pleased. I was not pleased at all. I ended up buying, like, I was trying to look for some type of replacement for that card, and at the time I was a little bit strapped for cash, so I wasn't able to get that particular card again, but I wanted the same type of graphical fidelity, and I ended up picking up a Radeon card. I'll put it in the video description, because right now I don't remember what's the model number. I mean, I could just simply walk across over there, but I'm recording this live, and this is off the Chromebook, so I can't edit this. So I do not feel like walking off and leaving the screen blank and then coming back here and telling you what it is. But needless to say, it was somewhat of an equivalent, but it was a Radeon card, but it was basically the equivalent of the NVIDIA card I got. And this was a smaller card, smaller looking card, and yet it was able to perform. I was shocked. I was shocked. This thing was able to basically keep pace with my old NVIDIA card. It was just slightly less powerful, but not by much. It was, and I paid much less for it. So that's what got me to start looking at Radeon for the first time. Like, these, okay, they may be cheaper, but they can fucking perform. I might want to give these guys another look. So when it came time to start building this new machine, I was like, I'm going to start looking at Radeon cards. And it's funny, one of you guys on my last video recommended to me a card which I was actually looking at. That was the very card I was looking at before I later on decided to go with an R7 card. And I was just about to buy it when I reconsidered. The reason why I reconsidered was because, I mean, I was looking at the R7 card, and it was like around $150, and it was really good. One site that I was doing a lot of research on was Tom's Hardware. I really like looking at Tom's Hardware because it seemed to be the site that was made for people like me. We want a really good system, but we don't want to spend that much for it. We're looking for bang for the buck. We're not necessarily looking to spend top dollar. Like, money's no object. That's not me. Okay, I got a budget here. So I was like looking for like what was the best bang for the buck, and Tom's Hardware is a really good site to try to figure that out. And the R7 card was one of the cards they recommended for that price range. But for not much more, there was the GeForce GTX 660 card. It wasn't that much more. And it was able to outperform the R7. So suddenly I'm like, R7, which I know is a pretty good bang for the buck, or spend the extra $50 and get the GTX 660, which I know outperforms this, and I can afford it. I start juggling, and I'm like, at the end of the day, I went back to NVIDIA. And it wasn't necessarily out of brand loyalty, it was more that I want this machine to last, and if this thing is going to outperform that other card by a decent amount, that means I'm adding longevity to my system. And if I can afford it, I might as well do it. So I went with, at the end of the day, I had to say, sorry, Radeon, and I went with the GTX 660. This is not to say that and then notice Radeon's the name is from AMD. They don't make bad graphics cards. If you guys do decide to pick up something, I honestly do recommend. I'm gonna put the name of that card that I was talking about in the video description. I really do think it's a decent enough card. If you got around 150 bucks to spend, you would not do bad in picking up that card. It is a pretty good bang for the buck. I just decided to say fuck it and pick up the GeForce GTX 660. Enough of that. I'm wasting a lot of time just talking about computer parts. Now, of course, we need hard drives. I picked up 2 of them, and one of them now I'm sort of regretting buying because, well, I'll get to that in a moment. I'm not regretting. You'll see what I mean. I decided to buy a solid-state drive and a regular terabyte hard drive. Normally, I stay away from terabyte drives. When terabyte drives were first coming out, I stayed away from them. I avoided them like the plague. Why? They were failing like crazy. I don't know if you guys realize this. When terabyte drives were first coming out, I don't know whether it was because the discs were too thick or something or whatever. They were failing left and right like within like a month or so. Hell, it happened to me. Like I freaking bought an external drive, and that thing died in 3 months. I had to put a lot of shit in there that I now cannot recover. Like old YouTube videos. I was archiving YouTube videos I made on there. I had like I'm glad I back up my backups, at least when it comes to music. I back those up like crazy. I put my entire music collection in there, dead. My radio show stuff, dead. I mean, it was just like, holy shit. So I stayed the fuck away from terabyte drives, all the way up until now. I'm like, nah, the highest I'm gonna go is 750. That's it. I'm not gonna go to terabytes. And now I'm seeing like 2 terabyte drives, 3 terabyte drives. I'm like, are these people insane? These things are not going to fucking last. Now they seem to be lasting. And I kind of need the space. So I decided to bite the bullet and buy a 1 terabyte drive. And that's going to be my secondary drive for mostly storage. And I bought a 100... Hold on. Give me a moment. Because this list is scattered, it's all over the place. I bought a 120 gigabyte solid state drive from Crucial. Crucial apparently makes really good solid state drives. Got it for around $94 too, so that makes me happy. It didn't cost me that much. Obviously I'm buying a solid state drive for a fast boot up, and I'm also going to be putting certain games in there that I know I'm going to be playing all the time. So yes, you best believe Dark Souls is going to be on that solid state drive. As well as a couple of other games, but it's mostly that's just going to be my boot up, and the terabyte drive is going to be storing most of everything else, including programs. Now, I sort of regret picking up the 1 terabyte drive. I sort of regret it, but now I'm not. But I sort of regret it for one reason. The guy who sent me the motherboard also sent me a 1 terabyte drive. The exact same one that I bought, in fact. I didn't know he was sending me one. So now I got 2 1 terabyte drives. I'm like, I didn't need to buy this. What the fuck? Again, thank you, dude, for sending me that. I really appreciate it. This is not... I need to say this right now. I know a lot of other YouTubers sometimes depend on the generosity of their viewers, or they're asking for stuff every now and then. I don't really want to be that guy. I mean, if you guys want to send me stuff, I really do appreciate it, and I thank you for the gift, but I'm not really expecting it, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm expecting it. Some other people, I know some other people on YouTube, it's like, I'm not saying that they're like this. There are a couple of people I've noticed that they're like, they get stuff all the time, and because of that, they sort of now start expecting it, and they kind of hint at, like certain game reviewers, for instance. Like, they get games all the time to review. And sometimes they'll say, well, you guys keep telling me you want me to review this game, but I don't have it. So unless one of you guys send me something, and I'm thinking to myself, can't you just go out and buy it, motherfucker? I mean, or emulate it? You don't need... Never mind. So I don't want to be that guy, So when I get stuff, which is very rare, when I get stuff, it's special to me, and it's like, wow, you did not have to do this. Thank you very, very much. But I want to stress that this is not a channel that was geared toward, huge public consumption. I'm not an entertainment channel. I'm just a dude ranting on YouTube, so I'm not expecting much. Okay, I may monetize the videos, but to be perfectly honest with you, I really haven't seen a dime from... I haven't seen anything yet. YouTube only gives you the money from the ads if you make a certain amount. Like I think you need to make like $100. I haven't even made that. So I have not received a dime for any of these videos. Just letting you guys know. I just did it for the hell of it because it's like, if I'm putting these things up, I might as well get something. And I haven't even gotten anything. So just letting you know, this is not a channel that was made to bring in money. I have a job for that. In fact, I got 2 jobs for that. I'm not using this to solicit gifts and stuff like that. I just want to get that out of the way, all right? So again, for the guy who sent me this, thank you very much, because again, this is not something that I expected, nor is it something that I'm demanding of my viewers, and I don't want my viewers to ever think that this is something I'm expecting from them. So yeah, hard drives. Got 2 Western Digital 1 terabyte hard drives. Awesome. Both of them are going to the machine. So now I got a lot of space. That means a lot of videos. Let me hurry up. This is not 30 freaking minutes. I'm sorry, guys. I really am. RAM. I picked up the G-Skill Ripjaws RAM. It's good RAM. It's good bang for the buck. I got 8 gigabytes of it. And I got it at a very good price. RAM is expensive these days. RAM seems to be like... RAM has always been currency in the computer world, if you notice. It's always fluctuating. It really is like dollars. Like you sometimes are able to gauge the market by how expensive RAM is. Like how much parts are going to be. And I happened to have came in at... When it was time for me to buy RAM, I came in at a bad time. Boy, have the prices gone up. In fact, it was going up in front of my very eyes. Like one week I'm seeing it at this price, next week I'm seeing it at this price. Like, what the fuck? I was lucky to get this RAM at the price I did. And even then it was quite... I think I picked it up for like about $80 for 8 gigabytes. It's not bad. Not bad. Could have been much worse. I also... yeah, the tower. We need to put a... All this stuff needs to go inside of a tower. I will admit, I went a little nuts. Normally... Well, no, I'm not going to lie. I like kind of fancy looking towers. I was the type of guy who, when I was younger, used to drool at Alienware machines. I loved the way they looked as well as the power that was in them. I've always wanted to own one. I don't see myself ever owning an Alienware, but I've always loved the way they looked, and I always got towers. When I built my machines, I always got towers that kind of looked a little bit like them, or at least looked somewhat fancy. I never went nuts and went with the super duper LED stuff that looks like their own freaking disco. I never went that far, but I tried to go with something that looked a little fancy-ish. And this time I went that direction and splurged a bit and got myself an NZXT Phantom. The black and green one. You know, the black one with the green stripes? You can look it up online. Yeah. Granted, I didn't pay too bad a price for it, because normally they go for around... Prices seem to be going up on all parts, though. Like, this thing was retailing at around 110, and I got it for a little bit more than that. The cheapest I could find it was around 115. What can you do? But that's how much I picked up. And I also picked up, for that case, I decided to splurge a little bit and spend the $35 on an NZXT Aperture multimedia bay. And the reason why I did that is because I got a lot of video cards lying around, and up until now I never really had a really good way of accessing information off of them. I'd always have to like put it in my camera or put it in like a laptop and then access it that way. And I got a little sick and tired of that. So now I'm just having a multimedia base, so whatever freaking flash card I got or memory card I got, I can just shove it right on there and I'm done. Plus it has 2 USB 3.0 ports on the front as well. And that's sweet. That means that my external hard drive that I happen to have right now can interface with that, and since that thing is USB 3.0 enabled, the data is going to be transferring that really quickly, and that's something I was looking for. So yeah, those are the cases. Picked up an Antec HDCG M series power supply. It's 620 watts. Normally, I'll be honest, I've always gone for around like 600 to 700 watts, even if my machine didn't go nowhere near that much, because I like to err on the side of caution. I want as much freaking power put into this machine as possible, so I never have to worry about a blowout or a burnout or something like that. And when I gauged how much power was going to be drawing off of it, it came to around 420. So I went to 6. I always try to make sure that I have more than enough power to run this thing. And originally I wanted to go for 700, But considering that my machine was only going to be pulling about 420 watts of power, I let it slide and went with 620 watts. I think that will do me well. It should do okay. I needed a cooling system, especially since I'm planning on overclocking a bit. So I went with a cooling system that I knew was going to handle it, and went with a Noctua NH-U1. This probably means nothing to a lot of you guys. Let's just say I picked up a really good cooling system. A Noctua NH-U1 4S. I've heard really good things about it. I decided not to go with liquid cooling because things can go horribly wrong with liquid cooling sometimes. I'd rather not take the risk. And you can overclock and still do really well with a well-done air system, provided you set it up right. And I'm going to be setting this thing up right, so I don't have to worry too much about that. The rest is boring stuff, like, a decent, optical drive. I just went with an Asus optical drive. It works, The one thing that I kind of lament is that it has no light scribe. My old drive has a light scribe. This one doesn't. I don't know what's going on with light scribe these days. It seems that you can only get it on a Blu-ray burner system, and I right now have no interest in a Blu-ray burner. I just don't. I know it stores more memory, but it takes longer to access. It just doesn't. One of these days I need to do a rant on why I got a slight love-hate relationship with Blu-ray. More like just, Blu-ray's kind of cool. That's my attitude on it, but it's got shortcomings. One of them is how long it takes to access data, and I knew it was going to be a problem accessing data before it even came out. But that's a rant for another video. The rest of the stuff I'm pretty sure would bore you. I mean, you don't really need to know what. I got Windows 7. I've been working with XP for the longest time. I finally decided to bite the bullet and went with 7. I did not go with 8. For the simple reason that I am building a desktop. I am not building a tablet. I have no reason to get an operating system that was made more for touch interface. If they come out with a monitor that's touch screen, maybe then I might think about going to 8. But for now, no, fuck it. I'm sticking with something that works for the machine I got. Windows 7 is good enough. That's what I'm putting on here. So I have some familiarity with Windows 7 because I've worked with my wife's laptop and hers has 7. But for the longest time, all the way up until now, believe it or not, I've been using XP. It works. I honestly don't really see a reason to jump onto anything else unless you just absolutely have to. XP works just fine. There's a reason why so many people still use it, and I was one of them up until now. And after that, it's just like, nothing else you guys really, I'm not so sure you'd be interested in what keyboard I got, or, though I did kind of go overboard and picked up a Razer Black Widow, but I got it on the cheap, so. I like mechanical keyboards. I finally got my hands on a mechanical keyboard, and at a damn good price, so. And yeah, because of all the shit that I got, they gave me like a free game. They threw in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. I didn't think I'd be able to get it right now, but I got it now. So I guess I'll be playing it, and I'll tell you what I think of it. That's about it. Those are the parts I got. Now you guys can, for those nerds of you, computer nerds out there who are, in my category, feel free to debate on what I should have gotten or if it was good enough or whatever. Let me know. But this is pretty much a system that I'm building. It should hopefully be built this Saturday, the very latest next Monday. I'm expecting everything to come in this weekend. By the very latest, I'm hoping everything's here by Friday. It should be here sooner than that, but I'm hoping everything's going to be here this Friday. The only problem is, like I said, they've been working my ass off. This has been another 60. This is going to be another 60-hour week that I'm working just off my one of my jobs, and the other job is taking up all my time too. So it's just been nuts. So I don't know if I'm going to have time in the weekend to do this. We'll see. If I don't get it done by the weekend, hopefully I will have a day off on Monday and Tuesday, because I do not have a day off this week. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm taking a nap and then getting ready for work. Which is why I'm kind of pissed off this is taking so long. Well, not pissed off, but annoyed. But yeah, this is, hopefully it'll be built, and now I'm actually thinking about video, like recording me putting it together. For those of you who are afraid of building your own systems, this is the last thing I'm going to impart upon you people. There really is no reason why you guys cannot build your own machines. I've been building my own machine since 1999. It's not hard. The only time it starts getting hard is if you start trying to make some type of crazy cockamamie system, but it's generally been easy, and it's gotten easier all the time. It's just, if you can replace a part in your machine, you can build your own computer. If you've ever replaced your video card or put in new RAM, you can build your own machine. It's not hard. It really isn't. Just put the parts where they need to go. Make sure that, you know, just put the parts where they need to. It's fairly easy just to, like, this part goes here, this slot goes there, put this, screw this in, close it up, you're done. Install your operating system, and there you go. You got a new freaking computer. It's not hard. And that machine is going to last you longer than any pre-built machine you get, with the exception of, say, the high-end, you know, gaming machines and stuff. But yeah, really, for the money, like, you can go out and, like, for around $700, get yourself a pre-built computer with the keyboard and the mouse and the monitor, and you think you've gotten a good deal, but sooner or later, that thing's going to chug and be slower than the other machines. That machine I built, if it wasn't for that motherboard burning out, it probably would have lasted me another couple of years. You know, and I built that machine 5 years ago, if not longer than that. And believe it, and the thing is, I'm going to resurrect it, and it's still going to be able to last another few years, if not longer, as a general use computer, because I put some decent freaking parts in there. It's the same. This machine's going to be a monster. I'm expecting this thing to last me quite a while. Yeah, it set me back a bit. I spent about $1,000, but you know what? That's going to be money well spent. If you spent that much on a pre-built machine, and that's my wife. That's my sign that I need to go. But I think you get my point. I'll catch you guys later. Take care.